Hello everyone! Spring is finally in the air, and today I wanted to capture a little piece of it on paper. In this video, we're going to draw delicate and charming muscary flowers or grape hyacinths. This is a short, sped-up version of the full drawing process, so you can see the entire artwork come together in just about 10 minutes and enjoy the overall flow and inspiration. I'll guide you through building their shape, capturing those tiny bell-like blossoms, and adding gentle volume and depth. We'll focus on the rhythm of the cluster and the soft transitions between light and shadow. This will be a calm and cozy drawing session. Alright friends, let's begin. So, we start with a clean sheet of paper. The first thing we need to do is to roughly plan the composition. To place the flowers nicely, I begin by defining the area where the drawing will be. As you can see, I don't start with small details right away. Instead, I work from bigger, simpler shapes. So, I begin by sketching two main flower clusters. And once the basic composition is ready, I start adding more details to each flower. Now, let's take a closer look at the flowers, at the flower clusters in detail. Here we have two beautiful heads of muscary or grape hyacinths. And now I move on to the flowers themselves. If you look closely at the top of the cluster, the flowers are still closed. They look like tiny little beads. Now I move on to the second flower in the composition and repeat the same process. Alright, now the flower clusters are in place. Let's move on to the leaves. And now, as you can see, the overall composition is ready. So, let's move on and start working on the smaller details. When drawing grape hyacinth, most of the time is spent on the small details of the flowers. They are quite tiny, and we want to show their structure as clearly and accurately as possible. If you look at the top flowers, they almost look like little beads made of several pigments. So here I carefully define their shape along with those small sections inside each one. Great! Now let's go back to our main drawing. First, I take my kneaded eraser and gently soften the graphite. This helps the lines look lighter. To begin, I take a harder pencil, 2H for example, and I start by shading the area under the flowers. So I carefully shade the stem between the small flowers, making it a bit darker. This helps the flowers stand out against the background. Let's first develop the main stem in this way. Once the stem is ready, we can move on to each individual flower. As we discussed before, the light comes from the top left. This means that the left side of each flower will stay lighter and the right side will be darker. So now I apply this idea to every single flower. Don't forget to include those small folds and grooves. They really add realism and detail to your grape hyacinth. Okay, I continue working through the cluster using this simple approach. Great! Now I take a softer pencil, HB. And with this pencil, we will deepen the darker areas to make the drawing look more three-dimensional. So I go over the darkest parts once again, but now using this softer graphite. I also refine the stem around each flower and strengthen the tone where it is needed. Just be careful not to overdo it. We don't want the drawing to become too dark. So, work slowly and gently, building the shadows step by step. And as you can see, we've now completed the first flower cluster. Let's move on to the second one. We will use the same approach here. So, first, I lightly erase some unnecessary lines, and then I continue using the 2H pencil to build the structure and details. The process is exactly the same, so you can simply relax, put on your favorite music, and enjoy shading this beautiful spring theme together. Alright, the flowers are now essentially complete. Of course, we could still keep adding small details, but for now, let's move back to the leaves so we can finish the full composition. For this, I take a harder pencil to H and start drawing the leaves. Grape hyacinth leaves are long and linear, so I use long vertical strokes. I try to imitate the natural structure of the leaves, so my lines stay straight, vertical, and parallel to each other. The inner part of the leaf stays lighter, while the edges are slightly darker. I repeat the same approach for all the remaining leaves. The process is actually very simple and intuitive. The most important thing is to keep your lines smooth, straight, and parallel, and that will help you achieve a very realistic texture. Now I take my pencil again and start the final refinement stage. Here, I simply go over the whole drawing once more, adding small details and subtle imperfections. This is always a very intuitive process. I don't always fully explain why I add something in one place or another. I just follow the feeling of the drawing. So, my advice is try to listen to your artwork. You can gently darken some areas or lighten others depending on what feels right. This final stage is all about sensitivity and observation. Just look at these beautiful, lively flowers we've created together. I think we managed to capture the feeling of nature in a very realistic way. And the whole composition feels very spring-like and cozy. Even though this is a black and white drawing, it still looks expressive and full of life. A big thank you to everyone who drew along with me today. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to see the full real-time drawing process, full-length video over an hour with all the details, you can find it on the Patreon in our Botanical Club. Thanks again, my friends, and that's all for now. See you soon and bye-bye!